a pleasure to be up here to greet you all on this beautiful, radiant Sunday. This morning we have Susan Sullivan, who is holding the light, holding the consciousness of this morning's message. Thank you, Susan. So Susan will be going over towards the prayer center, where we recommend you go over there and you put in your prayer. If there's something that is not necessarily going right, that could be going better, go ahead and place a prayer. And if everything is going wonderful and you're just like, oh yeah, go ahead and place a prayer. Because you can never have enough prayer, and we have practitioners praying over these prayer requests all week long. So let's get started. We have so many things on our calendar because Seaside is a thriving community. You can always find out more on your in your Inside Seasides, also on the calendar on our website. One thing to keep note of is that Deep Sound Meditation is starting every Monday in the summer on June 3rd, and launching that is the Seaside Sisters 7th Annual Sacred Sound Meditation for Women. So the healing sounds enable you to experience deep relaxation and profound wisdom. We also have graduation, that's on June 2nd. So this year we have 2 ministerial students and 55 practitioner students. Yep. So that is happening right here at Seaside, and we will be celebrating out in the garden afterwards at 4. So it all starts at 4 p.m. So keep that in your mind. And we also have breathwork, sound healing, and intentions starting next Saturday. That's May 25th from 2 to 4 p.m. Please wear comfortable clothes and a yoga mat and experience release of old energies and healing. We also have Gourmets for God. So this is the last day that you can sign up to be a host. Check out the Inside Seaside for more information. There is a table in the family room for the Gourmets for God table. Susan, after she's done in the second service, she will be back there to answer any questions that you may have and help you facilitate a unique experience to bring to Seaside. So I know that the bidders are waiting. I know you guys are antsy. You're waiting to see what events are happening. You can be one of those events, one of those hosts for Gourmets for God. And Lisa Nichols. So we have Lisa coming here on June 14th, Friday, and we have Dee Seidel, who's going to come up and give us a testimonial. Give her a round of applause.
Hi, friends and family. I'm so glad to see you here, and I'm really excited to share. And I had to write it down because I'm so excited. I tend to get a little verbose, and I'm only allowed a certain amount of time. But anyway, I'm a longtime member here at Seaside. For those of you who haven't seen me or don't know me, sometimes on the camera, I'm all over. But what I wanted to share with you, Lisa, as you may have heard, is a dynamic international speaker, and as was mentioned, coming here on Friday, June 14th, to present Healing for Abundance. And who doesn't want more of that? And it's actually in your program, so you might note that. If you look her up online, what you will find is that Lisa Nichols is one of the world's most requested motivational speakers, as well as a media personality and corporate CEO, whose global platform has reached and served nearly 30 million people. She's a featured teacher on The Secret. You may have seen that movie. And she is also the founder of Motivating the Masses and Motivating the Teen Spirit. So just on a personal note, Lisa inspired me when I met her a long time ago at a very casual barbecue at her father's house in Los Angeles. And what impressed me is, as a single mom raising her then 8-year-old son, Jelani, I didn't know it, but she had been on public assistance. And so to go from where she was then to where she is now has definitely raised my consciousness to believe in the power of potentiality. So I highly encourage you to please get your tickets to not miss her presentation or her presence. Thank you.
So yes, Lisa Nichols, June 14th. Go ahead and open your programs. There is a flyer in there. It says Lisa Nichols. And then put it up in the air and wave it around like you just don't care. You got it? All right, so that flyer, go ahead and place it at a coffee shop, place it at the library, wherever you may go. Let people know what's happening here at Seaside. Volunteers, there is a volunteer meeting right after second service in the Emerson room, just so that you guys know. And with all that being said, we may now stand and greet our neighbors.
standing together. Our congregational song is I Trust in God. Some hands clapping.
Thank you, Danielle. Hey, were you and the Mighty Untouchables out gigging last night?
We were out last night.
Where were you?
We were at the Inn at Rancho Santa Fe last night.
Oh, that sounds very respectable. You know,
getting ready
for the park concert season, huh?
That's right.
You got some good ones lined up.
Yep.
Yeah, like
we're gonna be on Moonlight Beach.
Oh, really? We'll be there. Party.
Sometime in June.
Yeah, sometime. You let us know. We'll get a party around that. Hey, good morning, Seaside. Woo! What a joy it is to be with you on this wonderful spring day. You know, May and showers. It's like how beautiful it is out there. This is like rare. I don't remember when it's rained this much this late in the season. It's great. Exactly. And I just saw this mammoth ski report. I kind of report every now and then. Just yesterday, it passed the 700-inch mark in snow for the season. 700 inches of snow. That's a lot of snow. You stop to do the math, you need both hands on that one. That's a lot. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. The sun is always shining at Seaside. It is always bright. It is always warm. It is always welcoming. We are here for one another on an amazing journey where we are growing and loving. And you know what? If you got your cell phone today, you may want to check in and tell people to check in and watch us live streaming, because I'm noticing not everybody made it today. I don't know. They're afraid they're melting or something. So check in. Let your friends know that you're at Facebook. We got amazing music going on and great words that are about to come forth and prayer. So I'm going to stop chatting here because I'm just making things up and invite in this wonderful practitioner who has been around here forever, and that is Dave Kennedy. And why don't you take us to that higher place, Dave? Yep.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. Please join me in a moment of stillness. I feel a spirit flowing in, around, and through me right now. That spirit is love and peace and harmony and beauty. And that spirit, which I call God, is flowing in, around, and through you right now, everyone here in this beautiful seaside. And I know that the words spoken by Reverend Christian today are flowing through from that spirit, from God. And I'm glad. And I say, I am happy and I'm complete.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the grace wash over us. We let it be.
Thank you, Danielle. That was beautiful. Thank you, David Kennedy, for your wonderful song. Excuse me, for your wonderful prayer. Good morning. I'm Brian Atkins, practitioner and minister student here at Seaside, and today I will be doing your reading. But first, if you are here for the first time, please know that you're very welcome here. And we have a welcome packet for you. You can find them either at the entrance on the north side of the building or on the west side of the building. And now for our reading. Our theme today is What Hinders You? And back in 1834, a man was born by the name of Russell Herman Comwell. And he later became a clergyman, and at one particular point, a bunch of the boys in his congregation came to him and asked him if he could teach them college classes. And he asked them to give him a little bit of time to think about it. And as he thought about it, the idea really gripped him. Why couldn't there be a college for young, underprivileged, but good students? And that so motivated him that he went out and gave over 6,000 lectures and raised almost $7 million. And with that, he created Temple University, a university based on the idea that even the poor students should be able to go to college. Now, in each of these times that he talked, he always gave one story called Acres of Diamonds. And your reading today is Earl Nightingale, the famous motivational speaker who's no longer with us, version of Acres of Diamonds. The Acres of Diamonds story, a true one, is told of an African farmer who heard tales about other farmers who had made millions by discovering diamond mines. These tales so excited the farmer that he could hardly wait to sell his farm and go prospecting for diamonds himself. He sold the farm and spent the rest of his life wandering the African continent, searching unsuccessfully for the gleaming gems that brought such high prices on the market of the world. Finally, worn out in a fit of despondency, he threw himself into the river and drowned. Meanwhile, back on the farm, or the ranch in this case, The other farmer who bought his farm happened to be crossing this small stream on the property one day, when suddenly there was a bright flash of blue and red light from the stream bottom. He bent down, picked up the stone. It was a good-sized stone, and admiring it, he brought it home and put it on his fireplace mantel. Several weeks later, a visitor picked up the stone, looked at it, hefted it into his hand, and nearly fainted. He asked the farmer if he knew what he'd found. When the farmer said no, that he thought it was a piece of crystal, the visitor told him he had found one of the largest diamonds ever discovered. The farmer had trouble believing that. He told the man that his creek was full of such stones, not all as large as the one in the mantle, but sprinkled generously throughout the creek bottom. The farm the first farmer had sold so that he might find a diamond mine turned out to be one of the most productive diamond mines in the entire African continent. The first farmer had owned free and clear acres of diamonds, but he had sold them to look for them elsewhere. Now, what so grips for so many people about this story is that the moral behind it, because what we believe in religious science is that we are literally standing in the midst of acres of diamonds all around us. There are dreams and our passions and things that ignite inspire us. There are ideas, any of which, if we took it and really implemented it with all our energy, could bring us everything we want. The founder of religious science, Ernest Holmes, said, "What hinders you? Nothing hinders you but yourself. If you believe you can, you can." So now I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy watching Dr. Christian show us what hinders you.
Thank you, Brian. Well, everyone, I am so happy to introduce our guest artists this morning. It's a fantastic duo. You probably recognize them. And they are a married duo of 31 years. Traveling as a couple, spreading their message and talent. And actually, they've just returned from India, right? Yes, they were with Carl Anthony on the Mantra Service trip. And we are blessed to have them here at Seaside this morning. So would you please give a big welcome to Cahill and Deline.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. There she is. Good to be here. And we're going to take you back to the 70s. No disco, though. Sorry. But we're going to take you back to a song that is by Fleetwood Mac. You probably didn't know, but they wrote New Thought songs, and this is one of them. And don't want to smile if it takes just a little Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Ooh, don't you look back. Come on, let's do it. Yeah. Ooh, don't you look back now. Ooh, don't you look back. Ooh, don't you look back.
That is Gay Helen Deline. My goodness, taking us back to the 70s. Anybody else remember that song? Oh, yeah, kind of. Some of us grew up with that, the Rumors and Fleetwood Mac. And what I remembered is just this week I saw a documentary on Finding Joe, which was about Joseph Campbell. And Mick Fleetwood was talking about how much Joseph Campbell and the Hero's Way influenced him. So that was kind of fun hearing you sing that. So, hey, this morning's message is what hinders you? And as you know, we have been journeying this year, taking a look at the concept of healing and that impact that that kind of consciousness has in our life. And I kind of like this concept of what hinders you, and I like what Ernest Holmes said, so thank you, Brian, is what hinders you is yourself. And as I began to think about this title, one of the things we don't want to do is get caught up on looking at what's in our way and magnifying and enhancing and making it more real. But then again, the paradox is we don't want to be so blind to it that we just bypass it like a freeway that has been built around a low-income neighborhood. And so that's the paradox. It's the dance. How can I look at it and not give my power away to it? And yet, how can I not bypass it and just pretend it doesn't exist when it does? Because what happens is when something is lurking below our consciousness or below within our subjective, it's impacting, it's acting, and it begins to raise its head every now and then. And if you don't pay attention and take a look, hey, what's impacting me, what is hindering me, it just gets louder and louder and louder, and all of a sudden it hits us, and we just say, man, that hit me. We don't deal with like, oh, that's just part of doing life, but oftentimes we'll label it, it's been anointed, a problem. And as soon as we say it is a problem, then it gets blown out, because what happens for so many is what goes into automatic or overdrive is that it kicks in like we're wired that, oh no, if it's labeled problem, that it's going to, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, it's going to be time consuming, it's going to be demanding, it's going to be expensive, who knows where it's going to take it. And all of a sudden I begin to feel inferior to the issue at hand until I really get into it and try to wrestle with it. And if that's not worse, then we make it part of the family by calling it my problem. This is my newest member of the relationship going on in my head. Now that's what I'm talking about, blowing things out of proportion. It's like things happen. I don't really know too many people that haven't had like an issue at some time in their life. It's like things happen to us, and we don't need to label it with this grand challenge, but rather, we got to look at it, but let it go, because if we hold on to it, a story I'm sure I've shared with you about the bear that wandered into the camp, and campers cleared away from the fire pit, left the beans cooking. The bear was very excited, grabbed this hot pot of beans and held it to its chest and started to burn. And so what it did is it held it tighter, so it thought it would crush that pain. That's what we will sometimes do. And so when we take a look at what hinders us, it is really part of a doorway, if you would, to that which is greater, that which is waiting for us. But we got to take a look at the issue that's at hand if you want to move through it. There was a gentleman by the name of Brian Smith. Dr. Brian Smith owned a company. He sold his company, wrote a book called Individual Advantage. He decided to do contract work. He got a job with one of his friends who was the CEO of a company. His particular contract work was to go to other states and do whatever it was in terms of sales, and that he would be compensated for the expenses as well as his time. And one time he came back from his travels, submitted his bill for the expenses and time. He got the check, and the check was really only just for the expenses and a little bit of his time. It was only half of what it was he was supposed to receive. So he called the accounting department. The accounting department said there was really nothing they could do to it. So Brian went to his buddy, the CEO of this particular company, kind of upset. He walked in and said, what's going on here? I got a check for only half of what is owed me. I demand that you pay me the full amount. And he was angry about the situation. And the CEO, he was calm. He said, hey, I understand you're entitled to the full compensation. It's not fair, but you need to know that this company is in crisis. It's right on the edge, and this may be the last check you receive from the company. Well, the guy was just indignant. He wrote across the check void. He threw it down on the CEO's desk and just stormed out of the office. And, he eventually got himself a lawyer to go back to get, the compensation. And the first question his attorney asked him is, did you keep the check? Because the company did go under after that fateful meeting, and there was nothing left. And the guy realized what he had done in a fit of anger is he threw down a check worth thousands of dollars, and now he has nothing. He had no compensation, no chance of getting what was owed to him on top of that check. And so not only did he lose thousands of dollars, but he also lost a friend that he just stormed out on and was irate and later realized that his friend was actually taking care of him, getting him some of the last dollars out of the company to compensate him for what it is he had put out there. But what hindered him was this irrational explosion, or this something that lurks in the subjective, and when you're not willing to take a look at it, it will raise its head again in another situation. You've got to be willing to deal with that. Well, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, of course there's nothing wrong with you, but I've really yet to find someone who doesn't have something they're working on. If what we're working on in our life may not be public for everybody to see. We might have it masked really well, but you know what? I've noticed most of us have something we're working on. You've heard me say, it's called where we do our spiritual practice. We take our teaching beyond the textbook philosophy, the intellectual concept, this is how it works, and we apply it to where we need it in our life, and we deepen our conviction and our courage on how this really works in our world. And that's what we've got, and we're all working on it. I shared the first service. One time I took a drive, 17-mile drive. You've ever been that outside Carmel? Just spectacular. Usually looks like it does outside right now. People pay a lot of money for that kind of weather up there. So you should be really happy for what it's like today. But I can remember this one rock outcropping in the ocean, though they have lots of them, where you got this rock that just sticks straight out of the ocean. And it was wild waves crashing upon this rock. Some of the rocks were all white. But this particular rock that I'm thinking about that was sticking out of the ocean in the midst of the turbulent seas crashing was just filled with wildlife. There were like all sorts of birds sitting on this rock, which I guess is why it was a white rock. But there were gulls, there were cormorants, there were pelicans on there. There were seals up on this rock. There were sea lions on this rock. There were probably even otters up on their rock. There was no real estate left on this little rock cropping that protruded out of the turbulent ocean. Somehow all of these animals had gotten their bodies up to this place of safety, this little oasis in the middle of the ocean, and they were, I'm making this up probably, but they were probably all exhausted. At least that's what it looked like to me, because if some new critter would come up on the rock, it wouldn't really bother them unless they jumped on them. Then they, whatever sound a seal makes. But they were all just laying there exhausted. The boundaries had been fallen. The real estate didn't matter. They were all kind of in the same experience together. And it made me think something like Seaside is this rock. It is this oasis that when people first come through this door, it's like, a breath of fresh air, a place to land, a place where people understand everybody is hurting. You can take a look at somebody's eyes. I love you. I get it, you've been through it. You don't need words, and there isn't a defense. There's like a commonality in the turbulent sea of life that we have found a little oasis where, sometimes we just need to put our head on somebody's lap. And what's interesting is, and just as you get your strength back and you move beyond needing that and you can stand up strong again, there's just someone else who needs to put their head on your lap or in your arms and take that hug. And that is the beauty of this oasis. There's an understanding. It's a place without judgment. I get that we're all working on something in life, that we've had, times to move through. You look in somebody's eyes, and I get it. You've got a story. I can feel the compassion. It's there. See, all our relationships in life are mirrors. If you're willing to take a look, and it's not necessarily has to be what's hindering you, but are you willing to take a look at the relationship? It's going to hold up a mirror to give you an indication of what's going on in there. Everybody in our life is our teacher. Are you available for the lesson or the insight or that something greater? Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of life opportunities where we can learn and grow from. And everybody seems to be wearing a little different mask out there, which is beautiful. It is the diversity, it is the beauty, it is the tapestry. But underneath the mask is that same face of God, is that heart that is love and is caring, that is compassion. And as we can begin to take a look a little bit deeper and begin to see that presence of God, Albert Camus, a French philosopher, existentialist, said, first look to see what is valid in everyone. That's the approach. First thing I do is take a look, see what's valid. Take a look, see that face of God, to see that something. Yes, we've got stories. Yes, we got something that is hindering us. Yes, we have something that we're working on. But am I available to let things go, to let my stories go, so I can become that place that is greater than the experience or the hindrance or the border or the boundary or the fence or what it is. We have had these life experiences along the way, and I must now be willing to forgive where the pain has taken place in my life, unless I want to continue to hold on to it and then continue to hurt from the experience that is long gone, that's part of the past. I'm the one who gets to decide, am I going to forgive and allow myself to move forward and let go of maybe some of the labels that I picked up from that experience about, not worthy or abused or neglected, and begin to take on a new kind of label that says, I'm a child of God. I am worthy. I am valuable. I am a masterpiece. I am a wonderful expression of spirit. I am wonderful. And this is what I'm bringing to the table. And this is what I am bringing to the game. And I'm going to move forward with this kind of realization and recognize that spirit is moving through me. And that as I step forth into this, I'm going to begin to be able to believe in a deeper way and learn how to quiet my mind when those jitters start kicking in, those old stories start raising their head, when the anxiety starts opening my eyes in the middle of the night. I'm going to be able to become mindful. Right? What we kind of like to call meditation, if you would, to be able to quiet the chattering of the human experience. And yes, it's natural in this human incarnation to have these kind of emotions and these experiences. It's called being human. It is our curriculum. It is our classroom. And I'm not going to do a bypass and pretend it doesn't exist, but I'm not going to make it part of my family either. I'm going to be with it and realize that there is an opening to God right here that I can step through and go to a deeper place. I'm going to become mindful so I'm not like Brian Smith, who throws down thousands of dollars in his rage and then loses it all because of a behavior that really wasn't necessary in that moment. What is it that I can do? How can I see what's hindering me as an opening to God? How can I forgive, let go? I'll tell you, I guess that's what I'm doing. But, there's some great questions. Once again, if it was a classroom or a workshop, I'd have you journal this down. It says, what value does this experience, could this experience possibly bring me? In this time, what is it that I need to release and let go? Opinions or things or people? What is it? In this time, what is it that I need to embrace? What greater insight is waiting for me? What greater good could come out of this for me and everyone else involved with this scenario? Ask yourself, how can this hindrance or this experience become a transformational launching pad, if you would, to a greater experience of Spirit? See, I've got to give up some of my previous conversation that keeps me from doing that. I got to give up some of those people who I will sometimes slip into the lowest common denominator of human conversation with. Yeah. What kind of thoughts come out my mouth and nonverbal thoughts emanate from me? Who am I hanging out with? Are they supporting the negative story, or are they, supporting a greater story? Take a look at those in your world. Your homies, those you hang out with. If you had kids, you would be very careful, or you try to be very careful with who you let your kids hang out with. The wrong influence. But as adults, I'm not going to be influenced by that vibe or those folks in my world. And it's like, you've got to become mindful. See, as you become mindful, things begin to shift in your world. You'll recognize that, I can move to a greater place. Sometimes when we get hit, we lose the happy vibe. And which is okay. You don't have to be joy all the time. I'm a firm believer in joy and happiness and that, doing life that way. But I watch people sometimes get knocked off their center, and they go and then get a diagnosis for it. And it's called, you are diagnosed as depressed. Once you get that diagnosis of depression, then you get the prescriptions, the pharmaceuticals, and then all of a sudden you get caught in that kind of loop. You get to ask yourself before you throw that check down or you make a move that compromises your body or your self-expression, do I want to go there with this story? Of course I have sometimes things that come up in my life because I'm doing this human thing. But you know what? I have been given a dominion over my life and my world, and I've got to choose to exercise that by opening up to the greater possibility. This hindrance is a door that opens up. I love the Alice in Wonderland quote. See if I can get it right, this service, where Alice, I think she's talking to the Queen. She said, why, sometimes I have 6 impossible thoughts before breakfast. Why, sometimes I have even 6 impossible thoughts before breakfast. Like disappearing cats, talking animals, cakes that make you grow, potions that make you shrink. I can slay Jabberwockies. The way of those 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you done that kind of exercise with your soul lately before breakfast to explore 6 impossible things that you do not need to be bound by the circumstance that is hindering you in your life? As you know, I've been reading one of Mark Nepo's book, Exquisite Risks, and he shares a story of being at a workshop, and it was the afternoon of the workshop, probably one of those hotel workshops, because, coffee cups, how they're all spread out by the afternoon, people are kind of tired, and the microphone sitting in the middle of the aisle for people to come up and talk to. And this one old guy comes up, kind of permanently hunched over, and white splatches of hair, and gets the microphone, clears his throat, clears it again, clears it again. He tries to compose himself to talk, and shared how in 1945, towards the end of World War II, he was in the Buchenwald concentration camp. And there was a sense in the camp that the war was about to end. People knew that something had shifted and changed, and it was like, the birds are singing that the night is over, the day is coming. There's this excitement, and people are feeling good, but you don't know when it's going to happen. All of a sudden, he had a sense it was going to be happening soon. And what he did is he went and he hid in a metal trash can, put himself in this dark tin can, and for 7 days he sat in there in pretty much terror, starving, hungry, just terrified by all the sounds that he heard around him in the darkness of that container. And on the 7th day, the lid opened up on the top of that. And he said his heart began to race, pound like he thought he was going to just die from his heart pounding, because he didn't know if that was a German soldier who had just discovered him and was going to shoot him and kill him, or if it was an ally that was going to free him. And within those few seconds in which his eyes began to acclimate to the light, he could see the shape of the helmet of that soldier was an American, and he jumped out of there and he just hugged him and he just started to cry. And what was interesting in that seminar that afternoon, another old man, white splotchy hair, stood up in the back of the room and said, "I was that soldier." And they hugged, cried, and I share that story because, you know, I could hear the wow in here. I felt it. Imagine if you're there, how all of a sudden, like these broken pieces of the universal foundation just kind of came back together somehow. But also what's interesting is in that profound moment, you know, nothing changed outside. If it was raining, it would probably still be raining out there. You know, the traffic didn't stop because of that profound moment. Kids are probably still playing in the playground. The ocean, the waves were still coming and going. Nothing exterior changed, but there's something that took place at that heart level, that soul level, that vibrational level that far exceeded the traditional time continuum that brought these two guys together on the other side of the world at this time. How does that kind of stuff work? You know, and what I know is things break down in our life and in our world. That's constantly what's happening in the universe, is breaking down and coming together, and breaking down and coming together and establishing a stronger relationship. You know, it exceeds my awareness at times, but I know it works. I mean, who hasn't created a parking spot? You arrive somewhere, somebody's pulling out, and you get to pull in, but somehow that was set in motion the moment you left your house an hour ago, that it would come together in that perfect kind of way. You know, we are dealing with something that is far more, that doesn't necessarily show up in the change of things in this world, but it is our heart and our soul and our spirit that all of a sudden has stepped in and trusted something that is more than the micro moment, the microscopic perception, the myopic perception. There is a macro that Ernest Holmes talks about. He talks about the microcosm and the macrocosm. In the microcosm is the pain, is the terror, the heart palpitations, is our fear, is our anxiety. But if we can get, as I like to talk about, to the mountaintop, in the macro perspective, all the pain of the micro begins to fall into its time continuum. It falls into its logical place that may not have an answer for the next 40 or 50 years. But if I can live in trust, if I can live in faith with that infinite intelligence and know that it is perfect right now. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our philosophy, he says, you do not need to create perfection. There is already a wholeness at the center of your being. That's part he talks about, that part that has never been violated. You don't need to create perfection. There is already a wholeness at the center of your perfection. You don't need to create anything, he says. You reveal the wholeness of perfection that is already there. That's what we're doing. We're not making this soldier be saved in that moment and putting it together. We're not making that parking space happen. We're not making our body get healthy, because as soon as we're thinking, you know what, I got to pray and tell Spirit to do something, we've just given up this concept that we're dealing with that which is omniscient, all-knowing. It knows everything. It's got things handled. And I'm going to Spirit because, you know what, I need this protection, God. We don't need any protection when we're living in the kingdom of God. When we're in this human world and we've got things going on and we're trying to get God to come down here, what we need to do is step into that heavenly kingdom, that place where there is the God governance, where there is no protection that is needed because there is nothing to fear. This is the upper atmosphere that is often talked about. It is the attitude of prayer, that attitude of prayer that knows the nature of God. It knows the wholeness, the perfection that is already there, that has never been violated. And the altitude of prayer is rising our awareness from where we are caught in the human form platform and begin to recognize this heavenly kingdom, this altitude, this atmosphere, this stratosphere, this upper room where there is the answer already present. That is the attitude and the altitude of prayer that dissolves the need for protection, the need that God needs to do something. It opens one up to the greater realization that whatever may be hindering me is the doorway. It is the opportunity for the greater expression of God, and I'm the one who's got to be courageous enough to not hide, to bypass it, or dance with it in this world, but to be willing to face it and step on through to the other side and be that expression of God made manifest. God bless us as we do this in our life. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring Cahill and Deline back to our stage.
Such an inspiring talk. We all need that, huh? We all needed that. Well, this is just about that. It so happens. Yeah, we hinder ourselves, but we have a choice every single moment. So if all else fails, choose love. I can see tears. I see a choice, love or fear. What do you choose? I can see peace, or I can see war. I can see sunshine, or I can see a storm. What do you choose? Now I choose to love with freedom flying from my heart where the light keeps shining. I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I choose love. I can see sharing, or I can see greed. I can see caring, or poverty. So what do you choose? I can see gardens, or I can see bombs. I can see life or death coming on strong. So what do you choose? Now I choose to love with freedom flying from my heart where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I
Thank you. That is Barry and Delene. Woo! That's how a 31-year marriage can work. They choose love. That will work every time. Anyway, hey, this is the time of our service where we have the opportunity to unite together in the givingness and the sharing of our love and our support. And as we give, it comes back. But it's not why we give. It's an extension of our consciousness. It's the activity that Spirit is having in our life. And it's in this kind of activity there is the reciprocation. There's the flow back into our world. When we sit at that moment of question, confusion, looking at a hindrance, there is something that is greater than the constriction that rises up inside of us because we have continuously practiced putting Spirit first in our life. So I invite you to listen to your heart and your soul and to give from that overflowing place of the God realization. And as you remember Spirit first, what you'll find is you remember Spirit first in those times of questions as well. So with that, I want to invite our ushers to come forward, say thank you to this wonderful crew. And thank you to those who mail in your contributions when you can't be here on a Sunday. It is greatly appreciated, as well as those that remember us with the auto tithe, that regular systematic support from your world. That kind of regular activity in your life just deepens one's conviction that the source is God and that it is infinite. And so I know right now I want to share this prayer of gratitude with the most generous of spiritual communities, knowing that this truly is a blessed moment where the fullness of the divine unfolds right now through each and every one of us, for we are that lively expression of God made manifest in ever-expanding kinds of ways, a perfect expression of a life that whose foundation is Spirit. So knowing that right now that each of us is able to share from our heart the fullness of that heart's desire, we find the richness just pouring forth into our life in those ways that are particular, relevant, real, and right, bringing with it a security, bringing with it a sense of peace and a sense of well-being. I say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this opportunity to be able to be consciously in that flow of ever-expanding good. And so it is. Amen. Together, let's say this affirmation of abundance, which is, Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully, I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. Your guys from Seaside. Nice job. Bless Barry. I stand before this bounty and I can feel the outpouring of the love, the caring, the compassion, for truly it is a heart gift that has been made. It is received in love. It is handled in good stewardship and is put forth back out into life so it can continue to bring the blessings and the love and the joy and deepen the faith of everyone it touches. I say thank you, Father, Mother God, for this opportunity to be able to practice and deepen my conviction that God is my source and that my life continues to be the ever-expanding expression of the abundant good in all those ways that are relevant to each of us. So with joy, we send this forth. With joy, we are recipients of this good. And so it is. Amen. All right. It is Josh Franklin. He is your board vice president here at Seaside, helping keeping us on good shape, keeping that legal mind in us in appropriate ways. So appreciate all that you bring us. Thanks, Josh. And speaking of thank yous, Barry and Deline, thank you too so much for your love. Your wonderful gifts for Fleetwood Mac and the flashback to the 70s. That was good. I remember a lot. And anyway, and Danielle, always a joy to have you share a Sunday morning with us. Let us know when you're playing at Moonlight Beach. We want to be there. We want to party with you. So that will be a lot of fun. We'll make a big outing of it for sure. Giving us sound today, Matthew, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Marv, giving us the visuals. Good job. And know that there's CDs available right after the service if you want to pick one up. But also, John Beethan picks up the CD and he podcasts it. And somewhere between 70 and over 100 different countries every week, listen to what's going on here at Seaside. We're making a profound difference on the planet. And I just got to note that during the talk, you guys did your check-in. We received over 100 comments on the talk that we were doing here in the last hour. So we know you guys are at home. Thank you, Shelley Dill, a practitioner of Seaside who orchestrated that. We got Cher from North Carolina, Charles from Davenport, and Claire, and I mean the list goes on. David Lemasters, Diane Paikopoulos. So the whole, there's a list. We're making a difference. And not only are we making it out in the virtual community, but here at Seaside as well. There's things that are going on all the time that are powerful and wonderful. One of the names on there was Rebecca. She's doing a workshop Saturday with Kay, and they're doing a breath and sound meditation on Saturday. So if you want to be part of that. June 2nd, if you're looking for sound meditation, the Seaside Sisters are launching our summer season of deep being here, but the first one, the Sisters, it's women only. And if you want an amazing experience where the vibration of all those Tibetan bowls and crystals and gongs going on that lift you out of your body, it definitely, you want to be here on June 2nd. And June 2nd, Brian stood up and said he's he is organizing all the volunteers for the graduation day. So that's going on June 2nd. And I see Susan Sullivan sitting back there holding the light today, one of our practitioner interns, but she's also hosting or creating this whole Gourmets for God. So when she takes her otherworldly consciousness out to the Gourmets for God table, visit her today, because today's the last day you can offer your place for a dinner where you open up and say, hey, I invite some Seaside folks over. And so talk to her about setting up a fun evening or day or event. I mean, some are taking people sailing, so it's not only that. Others, I think Josh doing Padres, so it's not only in-house, but there I am in the house in my 60s outfit doing a murder mystery dinner. Carl Anthony singing at one of them. So there's we did the 7-course 7-chakra organic garden dinner that Susan put on out there. So there's a lot of creative ideas. So this is the last day you can say count me in for one of those. Other than that, Lisa Nichols, you heard Kat ask you, pin up that flyer somewhere in your program. We're really working on ticket sales. I mean, it's a huge coup for Seaside. She is, you've heard me say this, but it's true that she is one of the most sought after inspirational speakers, most requested is how they say it. She is phenomenal. You've seen her on Oprah. You've seen her on Phil. You've seen her on all the shows that are out there. You saw her originally on The Secret, really raise herself to a level of fame. She's here. So take advantage of it. Our ticket prices in terms of what you pay for seminars is ridiculously low. So I encourage you to come be part of that evening on June 14th. And if you want to help out, Kay and I are hosting a volunteer meeting right after the service behind the kitchen out there. So I can keep talking about things that are going on. We do good virtually. We do good on our campus. But what it's all about is healing. This year has been committed to healing. Healing has been the thrust of religious science since our conception. You've heard me talking about it week after week. Today it's about what hinders you. And you can't ignore it, but you can't fully make it part of your family, it's your door, it's your opportunity. So I want to invite any of our religious science practitioners that are present today to stand as I share these words of revelation, of realization of that God light, that love. What God is, I recognize in this moment, the nature, the wholeness, the perfection, the life, that which breathed us into expression. How do you articulate that? But there's something you can feel and know, experience. For that grace is upon this moment, and know that what hinders you is yourself. And so it's in this moment I get myself out of the way and I become available for the divine touch of that grace and that presence and that light and that life. For right here is the moment of God making itself known. Come to feel that wonderful vibration, that wonderful touch, that resonant field of spirit. For it's in this willingness to allow yourself to be that which is infinite, which means, of course, it is you. It's not all of you, but all that you are is of it. It is healing the sense of separation is what our prayer is about. It is removing that distance, that sense that I need this protection or I need this infusion of whatever it may be I think I need. There is no need as we take this attitude to a greater altitude, into that upper room, that atmosphere where it is all available in that kingdom. I live within that God light and healing happens. This body is the temple of God and it naturally responds to its healing of wholeness. I take off the labels and the diagnoses that I may have received in my journey in this human experience, and I begin to be available for the divine infusion that purges out anything unlike itself, bringing into alignment the mind, the body, and the spirit, knowing it is in this refreshed movement of spirit that nothing else can remain in the wonderful frequency of one's being. Wholeness of body is the natural state. That part that has never been violated is activated in this moment, and it is revealing the wholeness of that which I am. And in this, the floodgates are open, and the good pours forth, and the abundance is made available, and the cash flow is the experience of an ease and a freedom and an expression of the self to that which matters in one's life. For truly we are sourced and supported in our creative expression, in that which resonates within our heart and our soul. We are a channel to support that emerging good. Each of us is an integral part of the divine download, bringing forth the creativity, the nuances, the newness, and it's in this wonderful numinous experience of life itself that the sense of ease of being in this world, the joy of being in this world returns. Any of those hindrances dissolve into the nothingness from which they came, and I am no longer constricted or restrained by a subjective fear or anxiety of something that may arise. It is as if the birds are singing at the end of night and the new day is about to arrive. There is the trumpets that have been blown that said the crooked paths have been made straight. The hills are filled with the heads of 1,000 cattle. It's just, we're living in this garden. And it's in this place. We transfer it into this world of form. And recognize there is no separation. All otherness is dissolved. What remains is the beautiful emanation of Spirit made manifest as our very life. And it's in this realization I know it is true for every member of this spiritual community that moves to an ever greater conscious connection with the source, with God, with Spirit, call it what you will. Every prayer request that has been brought forth to this community I know is now fulfilled. Anyone who's ever reached out in consciousness and say, God, just lift it to this place, this rock, this oasis in the turbulent sea of life. God's good is here. For each of us are that divine ambassador. So I say thank you for the healing that's going on in this moment, the pieces that are coming back to that spiritual foundation, that shift that's taking place within the soul where the outside world of cars and forms and tides may remain the same, but something profound is taking place within the spirit. And it outpictures. So I let go to this divine outpicturing of our life for the good of Seaside, for the good of this spiritual community and family that continues to grow and thrive, the dinners that are a success, Lisa Nichols, which is a thriving success, for there's something powerfully, wonderfully good going on at the heart and the center of this community available for every member. It's alive, it's dynamic, it's God, it is. So I let go. I trust with an unshakable conviction in the divine right action, with a deep faith and knowingness that it's not mine to make happen, but rather to allow it to be revealed as my life now. And so it is. Amen.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you got to let it go. And this is what you've got to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Come on, Seaside. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah.
And our affirmation for the week is, the power of God is my power now. Together, the power of God is my power now. Touch your heart and say that again. The power of God is my power now. One more time, like it's your truth, it's your power. The power of God is my power now. And our song of grace.
I'm living in love, I'm living in peace, I'm living my life for what I believe, through joys and through fears. In this world I walk, God's grace shines on me, and it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We're living in love. We're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth as together we walk. God's grace moves through me, and it moves through us all. We are living in grace. 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 Have a great week.